I want to welcome you to our fourth On the Road meeting of 2023. We're glad to be here in Tilden Township. We're broadcasting live via Microsoft Teams live event. We're also on BCTV as well as Facebook and YouTube live. At this time, I want to call the meeting to order, beginning with a moment of silence, followed by a pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I'll recognize Barbara Lopez, Executive Assistant to Commissioner Rivera, to read the public comment policy.
Public comment will be accepted in person and through the Q&A function. Please include your first name, last name, and municipality for all comments. Any comments without name and municipality will not be considered. Each citizen can submit one comment. Comment length is dictated by limitations of the platform being used, Teams Q&A, Facebook, and YouTube. In-person comments will be accepted first, followed by comments submitted virtually. The meeting comment period is limited to a total of 30 minutes, including both in-person and virtual comments. This time period may be extended at the discretion of the board. Please be concise. Comments that are germane to county business will be read during the meeting and should not be considered to be interactive dialogue with the commissioners. The county solicitor shall be the final arbiter of whether a comment is germane and should be read. Any commissioner response to public comment will be done at the discretion of the commissioners.
Thank you very much, Barbara. It's great to be in Tilden Township. I rarely make it to this part of the county. That's a joke. I live, maybe a mile and a half down the road. And we love Tilden Township. A bunch of us, I think 10 of us, had dinner at the Westie. So we came from the Westie to here. But we're very pleased to be able to be on the road in Tilden Township. I want to recognize Fred Herman, one of the supervisors here. Fred has been here for, how many years have you been in office?
Well, I was on the zoning hearing board for 8 years, and I'm in my 10th year as a supervisor.
10th year as a supervisor. Well, thank you for your service. But to present on behalf of Tilden Township is the Township Manager, Treasurer, and Secretary, Monica Flower. Monica.
Thank you, Commissioners. On behalf of the Board of Supervisors of Tilden Township, I'd like to welcome everybody who's here in person and online, and we are very excited to host this evening. I would like to note we have a workshop on December 29th at 9 a.m. We also have the reorganization on January 2nd, followed by the regular meeting as well for January. And with that, I will turn it back over to you.
So I will speak for the township. It is a great place to live. My wife and I built our home, I think, right around the time Cabela's was being built. We moved in 2003, and it's been a good place to live, raise a family. I do remember when Cabela's was being built and we bought the lot that we built on. I heard all kinds of horror stories. There's going to be traffic jams everywhere. But Cabela's was built in the best place it could be built, right off of I-78. And many people locally know this, but outside the area, for the first several years, they had more visitors in a single year than the Liberty Bell did in Philadelphia. And it's still a great place. Saturday morning at 10:15, I have an appointment at Cabela's with my 3 grandchildren to see Santa Claus, because my wife and daughter-in-law are all back at the house baking cookies. So Grandpa's been put on grandkid duty, and we're also supposed to go see Nativity, which I'll talk about a little bit later, Nativity displays over in Shuey. And then my grandson wants to go hiking at Hawk Mountain. So we'll see if we can get all of that in on Saturday. But I seriously want to say Tilden is a great place. I love it here. And thank you very much for your leadership, Monica, Fred, and to the rest of the supervisors. You have a new supervisor coming on board as well, right?
No,
No? Okay. He's a reelect. Okay, I couldn't remember. Yes. So with that, we will move to the next item on the agenda, and that is, are there any additions or corrections for the December 7th, 2023 meeting minutes? Hearing none, the minutes will stand approved as presented. I do want to note that we had 2 executive sessions. What's that? Oh, I thought somebody said something. Okay. On December 12th, personnel and litigation. On December 13th, litigation and personnel. And at this time, I'll recognize our Chief Financial Officer, Bob Patrizio, to present the 2024 Berks County budget.
Thank you, Commissioner and Commissioners. It's a privilege as always to be here, and especially to be able to come out to Tilden Township and have my first experience at Westies. I really enjoyed it. I do have to say, though, it is definitely colder here than where I live. So
You're going to tell us where you live, because
in town,
live in Berks County.
Chester County, the mailing address, up down by the turnpike. But and that really struck me. But I really enjoyed going to Westies. I enjoyed the vibe of the place. So it was fun to be here. So thank you for hosting us. All right, so Commissioners, as you know, hold on a second. So I did forget my laptop. So Malcolm, if you could advance to the next slide, that would be great. No, back up. There, thank you. All right, so Commissioners, as you know, on November 16th, we presented our proposed 2024 budget. We published that out on our website. We made it available pursuant to county code for minimum of 20 days public inspection. As we always have done, we have continued to refine our budget, our revenues, our expenditures based on more current information. And I can tell you that we have made revisions on revenues and expenditures, but they are totally insignificant compared to the total value of our budget. So you will be in a position to adopt a budget this evening. Next slide. The key revenue revisions are as follows. We have a reduction in our expected real estate tax billing next year of $400,000. It's additional appeal and court case adjustments. That'll give us a total current year tax revenue number of $161 million. We had to reduce our tax revenue from tax claim efforts, primarily because, as I mentioned, we proposed the budget. We've had exceptional collection rate on the county property tax for each of the last 2 years, and as a result, less delinquent taxes are turned over to tax claim, and therefore we have less revenue opportunity on that side. The good news is we're collecting more in the current year than say what we would have done 5 years ago when our collection rate wasn't as good. And then we have a Health Choices is a mandated service. It provides medical care to people that qualify for Medicaid. And they came out with their October capitation rates. Think of it as rates for medical procedures. And they gave us 1.7 million more in revenue. And you'll see on the next slide, there's a corresponding 1.6 million of expenditures as well. And then others, a compilation of many of the other revenue accounts. On the expenditure side, our key revisions, our personnel went down by 700,000. The biggest reason for that is we lowered our pension estimate by 900,000. We had some payroll adjustments for part-time payroll pools and additional adjustments for new hires and HR recommendations in November and December through last week. And our healthcare cost went up 100,000. The primary reason for that is a much higher rate of increase on our health stop loss insurance. We had budgeted 15%, and it looks like the renewal's coming in around 30% increase. We didn't change any headcount at all. And the pension asset, the reason the contribution's lower is because we moved it from 475 million to 490 million. I can tell you that when we presented the budget, the week before I presented it, we were down to 469 million. I left it at 475, and 2 weeks ago we were at 506 million, and today we're at 518 million. But I don't know what's going to happen between now and the end of the year. And Christian will remember this a couple of years ago. It absolutely tanked in the last 3 weeks of the year. So, but I am happy to. I'm comfortable with 490 million. And I think we can rely on a lower pension contribution cost, which is a good thing. Retiree self-insured health, we lowered that by 500,000. We have a better trend and fewer people in the plan. Just for your purposes, if you go back like a year and a half ago, we had 42 people in that plan, and now we have 28, and it looks like 5 of them are going to hit the full 65 age this coming year. So we were able to lower the cost in the budget for that as well. Capital plans, 800,000 lower. It's primarily from network switches that IS needed to actually put the purchase order in this year to lock in more favorable pricing. So it came out of the 24 plan. The next item on there is the Berks elevators. They determined that we don't need to do anything in 24. We can push it out to 25, which we've done. And the vehicles, we continue to get more current pricing for the plan to replace the vehicles next year. And unfortunately, those costs went up a little bit. Health choices, this is the expenditure side of the additional revenue. The plan never costs us any money. Revenues equal expenses. The more opportunity is there, the more people that can receive services. And it's a net zero cost. Inmate health, the inflation rate on medical care component of CPI is actually lower than what we had in the proposed plan. And it looks like where that stands through October's CPI, that we will be increasing it at the minimum, which is 3%. So we were able to get some savings there. And then the other category is just a conglomeration of thousands of accounts that we adjusted up and down that net out to 600,000. From a fund balance point of view, it is lower by 1.6 million. We were able to use even more current actual data through 23 and project that out. And we were able to get I call it a soft close of the BCRC program and the building cost after it closed. And we factored that in. That actually reduced it. But then we had savings on the other side from the capital reduction. But we're still at a very healthy 125.7. We still satisfy our policy of a minimum of 60 days working capital requirement. So as a result of that, next slide. We still have a balanced budget from an operating perspective. It was 0 at proposed, it's 0 adopted, but that is still with an 8.99% tax increase and a millage rate at 8.345 mils. As I mentioned when we proposed the budget, it's the first increase we've had in 6 years. If you average that out, it's 1.5% a year. Certainly, we could have taken a position every one of those years and raised taxes 1.5%. But at least the philosophy of the board since I've been here has been, we don't ask for taxpayer money until we absolutely need to have it.
And I think that period was about 24%.
It was.
CPI in that same period.
It was 24.6.
Well below CPI.
Yes, well below. And just structurally, just to remind the audience that, personnel, our tax base growth over a period of time, and this is true of most counties, is that will not grow at the same rate that your personnel costs are even growing out, let alone your operating costs. So as I said on November 16th, it's really remarkable in my view that we were able to manage our operating cost growth in totality less than the rate of inflation. And I think it's a real testament to the board for making the hard choices and decisions when you need to. And of course, the impact on 100,000 assessed value is an increase a year of $68.84, and it's averages out about $1.33 a week. If it's a 200,000 assessment, it's $138 more a year, averages out to $265 a week. Therefore, next slide. Therefore, we're recommending that you adopt the budget with a general fund expenditure total of $308.7 million, and an all funds total expenditure value, which remains unchanged at $651.8 million. We're required by county code to stipulate the general fund expenditure budget. And as I said on November 16th, we actually do a budget for all funds, not just the general government fund, so we can have accountability and be transparent about that. And overall, the net surplus deficit's 700,000 lower, and it's for the net of those revenue and expenditure changes that we made, primarily lower pension, retiree health, capital, offset by lower taxes, tax billing, and tax claims. Next slide. So with that, commissioners, that concludes my update. We recommend that you would adopt this budget. I think it's definitely responsive to the needs of the constituency and the citizens of the county. I think it provides not only mandated services, but services that have value to law-abiding tax-paying citizens as well. And considering that we haven't done so in 6 years, I would recommend that you would adopt the budget. So I thank you for your time, and I apologize for not bringing my laptops. I'm sorry it got a little clunky along the way, but with that, I'll turn it over to you for comments, questions, and hopefully ratification.
Thank you, Bob.
Lynch? Whoever wants to go.
I'll go.
Okay.
Sure, okay. We have to learn how to use these devices when we're on the road. So there's a learning curve. Thank you, Bob, and to your team. This being the first year that I've experienced this process with the county, it's very different than the process I've experienced with the city of Reading, and different financial circumstances as well, not being involved in Act 47. It's been a smooth process. A very efficient process, and I appreciate the multiple times that you and the team have presented updates to us, but also to the community, and how it's been broken down and digestible pieces to try to understand really what is the budget of the county, why do we go through this process, and where do our tax dollars go? So I thank you for that. And a little bit of joking here, but I think that you had to wait until I was in office to raise it. It's been 6 years since we've raised the taxes, so I guess you were waiting for me, guys.
Blame COVID on me, so I'll blame this on you.
Blame the taxes on me. But really, our responsibility is to be fiscally responsible for all Berks Countyans, and that's exactly what we need to do with the advice and counsel that's presented by your team to us. I'll speak later in my comments on some of the economic forecasting that we all have been privy to and updating, as is our responsibility to understand what's going on. But specifically, I really like the direction here, in our efforts to generate and create a tax base, which will really continue through economic development to support the needs of us as a county and a community as we grow. There's ways that we're doing it internally. With our economic development team and Imagine Berks, there's ways that we're doing it with our partners, like the Greater Reading Chamber Alliance. And I think together we'll hopefully see the alleviation or burden of continuing, any steep increases in taxes from our perspective, and see a little bit of that natural growth occur through economic development. So thank you. Thank you for the process and presenting this efficiently and effectively.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Bob. I want to again thank you and your team. There's a lot of work that goes into preparing the budget. That you and your team are very zealous about the numbers of the county, looking out for the taxpayers, and I do appreciate that you and your team do that on an ongoing basis. I don't like tax increases. I know no one does. I have properties as well, but when you look at it, the reality is cost of everything has gone up. We've maintained our expenses down. We have not incurred any new debt. We've actually paid off some debt. Looking at, again, CPI, which is the inflation between in the last 6 years, 24% compared to 1.5% a year over the last 6 years. We have kept our costs down, even though expenses have gone up. At some point or another, you have to say, you know what, we have to increase taxes because the cost will continue going up. You know, my question to you at one point was, well, you know, can't we take some of our reserves to help fill in the deficit rather than increase taxes? And we can't do that because these are ongoing operational costs that increase. So you can plug it 1 year, but the next year you're going to have to increase by even more because you're going to have the same tax base, but even yet higher expenses. So that's why we look at it and why it's important to be able to do it now, not keep on pushing it and kicking the can down the road, because all that will do will then a year or two down the road more will even increase more the increase that we have to do at that point. So I do want to thank that. As Commissioner Sahelnik said, part of what we're looking at also is increasing the tax base through the implementation of Imagine Berks. We have been doing that. The tax base has been growing on an average about $2 million a year for the last 5 years, Bob. For the last 5 years, but costs have gone up more than that. Again, it's not new debt that we've incurred, but cost of just doing business, operational costs for the county. So again, want to thank you for the job that you do.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Sahelnik, Commissioner Rivera. Several things I want to quickly touch on. When you look at what is impacting this beyond the inflation, one of the big areas is staffing and wage and salary increases. Not so much on the union side at this juncture. We're just starting to get hit with reopening of union contracts that are going to be impacted by the inflation over the last several years, but much more on the non-union side in order to keep key people. And this is not unique to Berks County. This is true across the private sector and was shared in an economic forecast breakfast yesterday from Wells Fargo. The crisis of staffing in all different categories is going to continue for years. There are just real challenges in that area. That's one of the big cost areas, but there are two others that I think people may not be aware of. One is inmate health care. How many of you knew that when someone is sent to the county jail, even though they may not have even been convicted, they lose all health benefits? If they're a veteran, they lose their veteran benefits. If they have Medicare or Medicaid, they lose that. Their private insurance, none of that applies. You know who picks up their health care? You do. We do. It's solely covered by county property tax. And I can tell you in recent years, what we refer to as the acuity level, and that is the health conditions of our inmate population, has been worse than it was in prior years. And it is an enormous problem. We being the National Association of Counties, has been lobbying at the federal level to at least keep people's benefits until they're convicted. I mean, they haven't been convicted of anything and they lose their benefits and the taxpayer is covering the bill. In my opinion, I don't know why they should lose their benefits at all, because then they become a ward of the county taxpayer. The last one I want to touch on, yesterday, I believe it was yesterday or this morning, the governor signed a final budget bill. It included 911 reauthorization. And some of you may have seen my interview with Channel 69 News. I believe it ran on the 5:30 news. I don't know if it'll run on the late news. But this is a very serious problem for counties. Around 1991, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania mandated that counties provide 911 centers and services across the Commonwealth. They also said, we're going to pay for it. 100% of the cost was covered by a fee on landlines. 91, cell phones, were not ubiquitous like they are today. There were some bag phones around and the brick, if you remember the brick, but landlines is where that was funded. That funding never increased until, I'm going to say 2009, somewhere in there, where they shifted the tax not from the landline, but to include cell phones. And in 2012, they did a major update of the 911 funding. But even in 2012, they refused to fully fund 911 services. I believe the number was somewhere around 55, maybe 60%. And the rest, guess where the rest of the money comes from? In Berks County, it comes from the taxpayers, as it does in every other county. Municipalities pay a portion, and county property tax pays the rest. And in municipalities, that money may be your property tax, but it could also be your head tax or some other area. It's paid in local taxes. Well, in 12, they put the fee in place, no connection to CPI, so that remained flat until that ended in 2015. 2015, we asked, please fully fund this, or at least fund a greater portion. All that they did was reauthorize the old rate and continue it. And if they didn't do what they did yesterday and reauthorize it at the end of January, it would have sunset and we would have been handed an $8 million bill. At least that didn't happen. But if they simply took the rate of what it was in 15 and indexed it to inflation, it should have been $2.13. That should have been the starting point, and it ended up at $1.95. That hole has been getting bigger and bigger and bigger every single year. Up until about 4 or 5 years ago, I'm looking at Fred and Bob, we had all of our municipalities facing significant increases until we decided, you know what, we want the municipalities to stay where they are. We'll only index to inflation. Any additional costs the county is picking up. And again, it's still the taxpayer. This is very frustrating. If there's any good news in the legislation, it's not 5 years, it's for 2 years. And they're going to do a study. I don't know if that's good news. For one reason, the County Commissioners Association already did a study this year, extensive study of all the county 911 systems. And what we asked for was $2.30 over a year for 5 years, and each year would add 15 cents more. So that by the end of the 5 years, this fee would cover about 60% of 911 services, not 100%, 60%. Not all legislators, but enough legislators said that's a tax increase. I can't support a tax increase. So instead, they supported a tax increase of county property tax. That's the reality. I've had a few people call me and say, don't raise my taxes for 911. And my answer is, you want me to end 911? Can't do that. It's mandated, but it'd be pretty dangerous. And I said this on the air, no 911, and you are in an accident or you witness an accident and you call and you get a busy signal or you get no answer at all. 911 is critical to public health and safety. It is the way we call EMS, fire, and police. We have a police department right here in Tilden Township. Without 911, it doesn't happen. So I'm not happy about it. It's frustrating that the legislature doesn't see it. I'm hopeful over the next 2 years, we as commissioners across the Commonwealth can do a better job explaining what is actually going on in counties. So last thing, to put this into perspective, if you look at inflation since I took office from 2008 till today, it's a little over 45%. This tax increase will take the total increase in taxes in the same period to just under 20%. That to me is very responsible, less than half the rate of inflation. More importantly, and Bob alluded to this, and you may have as well, Commissioner Rivera, some people say, let's spend everything we've got and then have a tax increase. Well, that's what happened in this county for many, many years. If you look at 95 to 2005, and I have the data, the taxes were increased 3 times, 39% all at once, 19% all at once, 34% all at once. They were increased a total of 92% over 10 years. You know what the inflation rate was? 28%. That's a bad deal for taxpayers. We need to keep our county spending well under the inflation rate. Taxpayers have a lot of other things, a lot of other pressures, and that's our commitment to continue to do that. If we follow that philosophy, which means, okay, we use up all of our reserves, we end up with enormous tax increases. Not to mention a tax increase of almost 9%, effectively 9%, 8.99. That's a hardship for some people, and I get that. But if you wait, that quickly turns from 9 to 15 or 20% because of the multiplying factor of annual costs. So that's why tonight I will vote in favor of the tax increase, because I believe it is the most responsible way to manage the finances for the county of Berks. At this time, as we always do, I will accept a motion reflecting the will of the board relative to the 2024 budget, which is item 425.2023.
We'll make a motion to adopt the 2024 budget.
And
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Just for the record,
Sure.
you should indicate that you have turned in your conflict letters.
Very good point. So before we vote, I believe each of us have turned in to our chief clerk a letter outlining conflicts. We have to do that by law. An example would be I sit on the board of directors of the Berks Community Television, and this budget also provides funding for BCTV through our aging department, through our elections department, and there's some other other boards that I sit on. That has to be publicly declared. It also has to publicly declare that I receive, and my colleagues and any conflicts they have, receive no compensation in those roles. So we are not benefiting in any way from the position that we hold, but by law, we must make that those conflicts or conflict known publicly. Thank you very much, Christine. I, believe it or not, forgot that. Any other comments prior to our vote? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. You might wonder why we raise our hands. That's something we started when we did virtual meetings. So for some reason, people can't hear us real well or don't understand what we say. That's when we vote, we put our hands up. Is there any public comment on agenda items? I know there's none in person on the agenda. We'll have general public comment at the end. There's none online. We will move into the agenda. Item 1, authorizing under that budget department, adopt a resolution authorizing 2023 budget transfers in the amount of $39,813 per listing dated December the 8th of 2023. Human Resources, adopt a resolution authorizing human resource recommendations. Item 1, authorize the appointment of Jessica Bilek to judicial administrative assistant in court administration. Item 2, authorize the appointment of Amy Pierce to judicial administrative assistant in court administration. Item 3, authorize the promotion of Timothy Smith from enterprise manager to deputy chief information officer in information systems. Item 4, authorize the promotion of Katrina Sonnen from Office Support 3, District Attorney's Office. Under purchasing, resolution approving a recommendation to award and authorizing the Director of Contracts and Procurement to execute a 6-month contract as a result of the request for a proposal for career pathway and work experience program for temporary assistance for needy families, eligible young adults as follows. It goes to Arbor ENT LLC, doing business as Equus Workforce Solutions out of Louisville, Kentucky. Total not to exceed $187,483.70. There are several appointments listed under my name. Item A, adopt a resolution authorizing the reappointment of John Bastick, Reading, PA, to the Berks County MHDD Advisory Board for a 3-year term expiring on December 31st of 2026. Item B, adopt a resolution authorizing the appointment of Sharon Karras, Sinking Spring, PA, to the Berks County Board of Assessment Appeals for a 4-year term expiring on December 31st of 2027. And item C, adopt a resolution authorizing the appointment of Sarah Phillips, Leesport, Pennsylvania, to the Berks County Planning Commission for a 4-year term expiring on December 31st of 2027. There are even more appointments under Commissioner Rivera. Item A, adopt a resolution authorizing the reappointment of Ronald Rutkowski, Kutztown, Pennsylvania, to the Berks County Solid Waste Authority for a 5-year term expiring on December 31st of 2028. Item B, adopt a resolution authorizing the reappointment of Tony Sacco, Wyomissing, PA, to the Berks County Solid Waste Authority for a 5-year term expiring on December 31st of 2028. Item C, adopt a resolution authorizing the appointment of Jane Witheridge, Wernersville, Pennsylvania, to the Berks County Solid Waste Authority for a 5-year term expiring on December 31st, 2028. Item D, adopt a resolution authorizing the reappointment of Jody Gauker, Fleetwood, Pennsylvania, to the Berks County Planning Commission for a 4-year term expiring on December 31st of 2027. And item E, adopt a resolution authorizing the reappointment of Glenn Knobloch, Wernersville, Pennsylvania, to the Berks County Planning Commission for a 4-year term expiring on December 31st of 2027. Item F, adopt a resolution authorizing the reappointment of Laura Fike, Shillington, PA, to the Berks County Board of Assessment Appeals for a 4-year term expiring on December 31st of 2027. And item G, adopt a resolution authorizing the appointment of Manuel Antonio Perez, Reading, PA, to the Berks County Mental Health and Developmental Disabilities Advisory Board for a 3-year term expiring on December 31st of 2026. 2 items under Commissioner Sahelnick. Item A, adopt a resolution authorizing the reappointment of Michael S. Rivera, Reading, PA, to the Berks County Mental Health and Developmental Disabilities Advisory Board for a 3-year term expiring on December 31st of 2026. And item B, adopt a resolution authorizing the reappointment of Joe Conway, West Reading, PA, to the Berks County Mental Health and Developmental Disabilities Advisory Board for a 3-year term expiring December 31st of 2026. We have several items listed under the commissioners. Item A, adopt a resolution authorizing the appointment of, I think it's Diana Blandon, Human Resources Manager Alpec Polyester USA LLC to the Berks County Workforce Development Board for a term beginning January 1 of 2024 to June 30th of 2026. Ms. Blandon will represent the Business A category on the board. Item B, adopt a resolution authorizing the appointment of Christina Hauk, Director of Human Resource and Strategic Planning, Piper Machine Services, to the Berks County Workforce Development Board for a term beginning January 1 of 2024 to June 30th of 2025. Ms. Hauk will represent the small business A1 category on the board. Item C, adopt a resolution authorizing the reappointment of Michael P. Fischetti, Executive Director of Human Resources, North America at SFS Group, to the Berks County Workforce Development Board for a term beginning December the 18th of 2023 to June 30th of 2025. Item D, adopt a resolution rescinding resolution number 148.2022. As a result, the Schuylkill River Passenger Rail Authority Technical Committee is being dissolved. All current appointments to the committee are hereby rescinded. Item E, adopt a resolution approving a revised Berks County Library System automation agreement and further authorizing the library system administrator to execute the individual agreements with each member library. We have our director here, and since she made the trip to Tilden, she's never going to show up again, although I've done this to you before. Would you just kind of explain what this item is? And Stephanie Williams, our director of the Berks County Library System.
Good evening, commissioners and visitors here at Tilden Township. The automation agreement revisions were necessary because coming in February of 2024, we will have a new integrated library circulation system. So if you haven't seen that on our website, visit berkslibraries.org and you can find out more about our migration to a new system.
Thank you very much, and you and your team do a great job. We don't run the member libraries. They all are independent and have agreements that guarantee that independence, but you provide the backbone of the system, the sharing of resources and materials, and you and your team do a fabulous job. We appreciate it. Glad to hear that. Okay, item F. Adopt a resolution authorizing the Chief Operations Officer to exercise the option to extend the lease with Service and Access Management, Inc. for the space located at Suite 202, 19 North 6th Street, Reading, PA. Item G. Adopt a resolution authorizing a letter to the PA Department of Drug and Alcohol Programs requesting a waiver for the number of consecutive terms a member may serve on the Service County Authority Board of Directors. Item H. Adopt a resolution authorizing Rex Levengood, Director of Facilities and Operations, to execute the proposal for the Builder's Risk Rehabilitation and Renovation Policy, excluding the optional terrorism premium, totaling $9,867 for the job site located at 1238 County Welfare Road, Leesport, PA, effective from December 15th of 2023 through December 15th of 2024. Item I, adopt a resolution authorizing Rex Levengood, Director of Facilities and Operations, to approve Travelers Property Casualty Company of America's insurance claim settlement for the damage to the Griesemers Bridge resulting, and I believe it's Griesemers Bridge resulting from a vehicle accident on May 29th of 2023. Item J, adopt a resolution authorizing the on-the-road commissioners' meetings for 2024 on the following dates and locations commencing at 7 p.m. March 28th, 2024, Muhlenberg Township. June 27th, 2024, Colebrookdale Township. September 26th, 2024, Onalani Township. And December 12th, 2024, Reading, PA, Berks County Services Center. Again, all of those are evening meetings. Item 2, a motion to authorize execution of contract agreements and amendments as set forth on the contract agenda listing dated December the 11th of 2023. There are a total of 17 contracts. There's 1 with the Berksheim, 2 with Children and Youth Services, 4 with Children and Youth Services and Juvenile Probation, 1 with the Coroner's Office, 1 with Facilities, 2 with Human Resources, 2 with the Berks County Jail, 1 with the Berks County Library System, 1 with the MDJs, and 2 with Mental Health and Developmental Disabilities. Item 3, a motion to authorize execution of the payments and electronic transfers for the week ending December 14th of 2023. Item 4, a motion to authorize execution of employee payroll disbursements of 2023.
Motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved. Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. We will now move to treasurer and controller reports. Our treasurer does not have anyone present, but they did provide me with their report. The general account total is $232,162,280.68. There's a balance to clear of $7,003,511.25. It leaves a balance of $225,158,769.43. And with that, we will go to Sandy Graffius, our county controller, with the controller's report.
My swan song, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, not quite, but when I grow up, Sandy, I want to be like you.
I gotta tell you, I have good genes.
They're amazing, trust me.
I have good genes and lots of titanium. Accounts payable, 14 million.
If I said that, that would be a HIPAA violation, but she said it.
Oh, what the heck. The closer I get to leaving the county, the less I have a filter. Total accounts payable. Don't make me crack up here. I'm trying to be professional. Total accounts payable, $14,764,301.37. As you mentioned, we have a payroll, $5,235,641.12 for a grand total of $19,999,942.49. And I would just like to mention that it's so high at 19 million because we did a major upgrade for our accounts payable system. And as a result, we weren't able to pay anything for 2 weeks. And so we got as much out as we could before we turned off the system. And then we just had to wait till we could get back up and running again to run a bunch of checks and a bunch of pay. Thank you, everybody. It was very patient receiving your pay. I know the constables were alerted, as were all the foster parents and whatnot, but we really got very few calls. We were just delightfully astounded that people were as patient as they were as we did our upgrade. And it's a major upgrade. We've been talking about it for a couple of years. So this will hold us now for a while with our financial system.
Thank you very much, Sandy. So quick question. Will you be participating in our commissioners meeting next Thursday? The 21st.
Sorry about that. I lost you. Can we go?
That's
again?
okay. Will you be participating in our commissioners meeting on the 21st? That's the last one of the year.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Okay. I'll save my roast comments till then. She is retiring. She's retiring at the end of the year. And here's what I mean, I know Sandy well enough. I won't get in trouble. But how old are you, Sandy?
87.
She announced this.
87.
87.
Yep.
I hope at 87, I'm as sharp as this lady is.
You know, it
She's
cracks me up.
pretty-
I'm not quite sure how I got here. I mean, I realize 1 year at a time. But I mean, 87 in
One
my
day at a
mind.
time.
Now you're disproving me when you say you don't realize how you got here. Anyhow,
Yes,
we'll talk about that next week.
yeah, I'll be there the 21st. Never fear. God forbid I miss
Fantastic.
anything.
Thank you very much, Sandy. And with that, we'll turn to Kevin Barnhart, our Chief Operations Officer.
I'll try to follow that. Thank you, Commissioner Linebaugh. I also want to thank Tilden Township for your hospitality this evening. Very nice, and really appreciated dinner with everyone and my mentor and friend Ron Seaman, who came out this evening. And in our audience, Tim Smith, congratulations on your promotion as Deputy Chief Information Officer. You're one of the rare promotions that come out to a on-the-road meeting, so thank you. I also want to thank the commissioners for supporting the 2-year extension at Service and Access Management, which will help election services to continue to process the mail-in ballots for the next 2 years. And as always, this time of year, happy holidays. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll turn now to reports from the commissioners, and we'll begin with Commissioner Michael Rivera.
Thank you, Commissioner Linebaugh. So a few items. I want to thank Tilden Township and Monica and Fred for having us here tonight, for opening your doors.
And Gene Chappelle showed up,
And Gene.
another supervisor.
So Gene and Fred and Monica, thank you for having us here tonight. It's great that you opened your doors and allowed us to be here on a Thursday night, especially so close to the holidays. So appreciate that. Also want to thank our IS team and the rest of our staff here. When you look at the meeting that's going on, it may seem like we're putting up our computers and that's all there is to it, but there's a lot more that goes to it. If you're not here, you look in the back, there's at least 3, maybe 4 computers back there, 4 staff back there, a few others floating around as well. So there's a lot that goes into putting one of these commissioners on the road meetings together. So I want to take the opportunity to thank our IS team for coming out Thursday evenings. They get here early to set everything up. They come beforehand to make sure they have everything they need. Once the meeting's done, they have to take everything down, haul it back into their cars, and then take it back into the office tomorrow morning. So IS team, thank you for what you do, for being here tonight. Truly appreciate that. Thank you. The other thing I want to bring up is we have the holiday lights at Grings Mill. It's from 5:30 to 8:30. Starting tomorrow, it will run every day through December 23rd. Will be closed the 24th through the 27th, and then again open the 28th through the 30th. Beautiful lights here to go and watch. There's food vendors there. There's some of the nights. There's music. If you go to our county website, to the Parks and Recreation website, you'll see who will be there playing each of the nights. But please go. It's a free event for our residents and visitors. Again, starting tomorrow through the 23rd. It will be there every evening from 5:30 to 6:30. Yesterday morning, we had the opportunity, all 3 of us, to go to the GRCA and Wells Fargo Economic Forecast Breakfast. I don't even know how long they've been doing that. We spoke about that yesterday. It's been for years. And Jay, has a doctorate in economics and writes for many different magazines and newspapers. He's able to bring down what he sees the economy is going to be like in the next year, bring it down to layman's terms. So it's really always interesting to see what he has to bring. And I learned a lot from that. I know Commissioner Selinek said she was going to touch on a few points at that. But basically, you can't say for certain what's going to happen next year, but his outlook was in general positive for 2024. So that's good. And one last thing is we are in the holiday season. We have about 2.5 more weeks left for the rest of the year. We have 1 more Board of Commissioners meeting left. So if I don't see any of you before the end of the year, I hope you have a happy holiday season. May 2024 be full of many blessings for you and your family as well. Just remember, I know there's a lot that goes on in this time of the year, but take some time to spend it with family and friends, and get some rest and recharge your batteries. If we can't go to every event that's out there, but make sure that you do spend that time with your family, because times that it goes by, you can't get it back again. Okay. Thank you very much and enjoy your holidays.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Rivera. Commissioner Sahelnick.
Thank you, Commissioner Lineback. I'll begin by just thanking Tilden for having us. And I used to be a neighbor. I lived in Upper Burn Township for a handful of years. So it's really nice to be able to come back and enjoy dining out and being here. And thank you for coming to support the meeting here as well. Also, a special thank you to Carmen, because we acknowledged IT, but Carmen wasn't with us eating because she was here setting up as well. So thank you, Carmen, for that. It really does take a dedicated team to be out here and to provide events like this. And so I want to say that in case you missed it, as chair of elections board, we did certify the 2023 elections last week. And you certainly can keep informed, as informed as you would like to be, by attending the election department and board of elections meetings as they're held on Thursdays, usually at 12:15. So also, Commissioner Rivera touched on the holiday lights. And on the back table before you exit, I was able to bring these nice cards. And what is on here is the schedule. So Friday, December 1st was the opening of Grings Mills Holiday Lights, and they're ongoing, as Commissioner Rivera said. So make sure to pick one up because it's really, again, a nice way to be out in the community in a way that we really support holding that green space open year round for all Berks Countyans. I want to take a moment also to acknowledge all of the appointments and reappointments. There's been quite a few these past couple of meetings for our boards, authorities, and commissions. And first, I want to say to everybody who serves in that capacity, thank you. It depends on the requirements and time and dedication. But we really do appreciate those who step forth and are willing to accept that responsibility. And I want to just say a personal acknowledgement and thank you to Jody Gawker, who is coming off as the chair of the Planning Commission, but staying on, and it really makes a difference to continue the business and advocacy of the county and the work that we need to do. So that being said, next week is my last meeting. And I will save my comments for next week. But really, I think it was special to be able to come out into the county and be on the road today as we gear up for the end of the year. We did touch, and I'll leave you with the some of my highlights that I kind of took from the economic forecast. I think a lot of times we hear economic forecasts and economics, and we just kind of, unless you're Bob, blur it out. But it really is significant to all of us, especially this times of year when, we're thinking about gifts or presents, our budget, saving, and going into the new year and what that looks like financially for all of us. It's each of our individual responsibilities. So if you didn't realize it, we do have a little bit of an inflation problem. And we have to recognize that and plan accordingly, not only as a county, but also as individuals. And our real income hasn't kept pace with our spending. And you might be understanding that a little bit more as maybe you're going through your lists and gifts and spending, personal spending at this time or investments. So remember, I think to Commissioner Rivera's point, spending time with your loved ones and your family and friends and neighbors costs absolutely nothing. It's a really nice way to do that. I mean, it's not always about gift giving. And then this was interesting to me that we could expect a passive tightening on economic growth in 2024. So when I talk about economic development and our efforts behind that, that doesn't mean that in 2024 there's going to be what they call a Goldilocks, this humongous growth opportunity. It's going to be pretty passive. It's going to be occurring, and we need to just pay attention to it and stay vigilant in what you have forecasted for yourself individually and kind of our approach and what the new Board of Commissioners will do in the upcoming year. So hopefully that is helpful to all of you. And I wish you peace and good light coming into the year ahead of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I too want to again thank Tilden Township. Some people may wonder, why do we do this? The turnout here is average. We don't get a whole lot of people. We do it for two reasons. Number one, it's much easier for people to come to places outside of downtown Reading on our 13th floor where you have to find a place and pay to park. So it is much easier, and it's a better time of day, 7 o'clock in the evening versus our meetings are normally at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Thursday. But there's another reason, and that is when you represent a county of nearly 430,000 people, very diverse people, very diverse municipalities and communities. We do a service to the people we represent going out in your communities. Yes, I know I live here. I know this area, but I don't think anybody from our team lives in this area. You were the closest at one time, one township over. And so this is as much about highlighting Tilden. It's just as much about us getting to meet you and hear from you. So that's why we do it. That's why we're going to continue to do it. I mentioned earlier Ron Seaman, really great to have him. Ron was with the county over 2 stints, almost 40? 30 and a half. And then you were with local government 13 years in between that period of time. Ron's not only been a great asset to the county, he's been a very good friend. And as you can see, he keeps contact. And one of the things I mentioned earlier, this Saturday, he's involved in a special program right down the road in Shuey at Zion's Lutheran Church. It's a nativity display, all different kinds. He said he has one. How small is it? So there are 130 plus. It begins at noon. It goes till 3 p.m. There's no charge. There is a free will donation that you can give. So if you're interested, Ron's right there. Talk to him. And thank you, Ron, for coming out. I don't know if you're a really great friend or a glutton for punishment, but you used to have to come to these. I thought when you retire, you wouldn't want to come, but I'm thrilled that you're here. One other thing before I make some holiday comments. The Schuylkill River Passenger Rail Authority took an enormous step last week when the Federal Rail Administration announced that we've been accepted into the Corridor ID program. A number of Amtrak or intercity rail lines across the country were all recognized on Friday. The funding is already in place for Amtrak, for these lines, through the bipartisan infrastructure bill. That is vitally important. When you look at this, if you followed anything about the restoration of passenger rail, we are at a point we have never been before. Passenger rail service ended in Reading in 1981. The first real serious efforts to restore passenger rail began in early 1990s. The chamber, at the time it was the Berks County Chamber, became very involved. I happened through the Government Affairs Committee to be at one of those first meetings. All the prior efforts ended when the study was done. I mean, literally, tens of thousands, in some cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars were spent on at least 3 different studies, and all of them ended with the study. The last one prior to this effort was roughly 2010. Kevin Barnhart, our COO, was a commissioner at the time, and it was the infamous plan to toll 422. And that it leaked out what the plan was going to say, And virtually every legislator in Montgomery, Chester, and Berks County announced their complete opposition to it, and it never made it to its first public hearing. And I don't disagree with that. This was a different effort, and I'm not going to go into the details. I just want to highlight two enormous differences. Every other effort has been a county or the county and the municipality doing this by themselves. Berks and Reading, or Chester and Phoenixville, or Montgomery and Pottstown. This is the first time 3 counties said, maybe what we've been unable to do alone, we can do together. Now, we're not there yet. Don't misunderstand me. But I believe the single biggest reason we have made the progress we've made. What did we do? Beyond the study, we formed a Tri-County Passenger Rail Committee. A year later, in 2022, we unanimously supported in each of the 3 counties, Republicans and Democrats, the formation of the Schuylkill River Passenger Rail Authority. That was never done before. We then worked to determine where do we go, commuter rail, which would be SEPTA, or intercity rail or interstate, you might look at it that way, Amtrak. We made that decision was kind of made for us with a bipartisan infrastructure bill because it funded Amtrak and led to the Corridor ID program. And winning this Corridor ID program is absolutely enormous. Would the project be dead if we hadn't? Not necessarily, but it would have added years to the process with no guarantee of dollars being available to do what is necessary. There's a long road in front of us, but that is a big factor. The second factor is every other study only looked at commuter, SEPTA. That every other, the Phoenixville study was only looking at SEPTA, Pottstown, SEPTA. One of the reasons was when the system went down in 81, most people don't know this, it wasn't the Reading Railroad. It was the old Reading Railroad line. It was SEPTA, and it went belly up financially, which if anybody that's followed SEPTA, that's not necessarily a surprising outcome. So the second thing that was fundamentally different, this is the first effort that said, wait a minute, maybe it makes more financial sense looking at Amtrak. And I won't explain it now, but there's significant financial benefits beyond the funding. But rather the business model makes a lot more sense. So very excited about that. Stay tuned. We do have all of our meetings, all but one a year is virtual, but all of them are available virtually. Our next meeting is this coming Monday. If you go to countyofberks.com, on the middle of the page, there's an icon for public meetings. You click on that, it'll give you the link. And probably sometime tomorrow, they will also post the agenda. That will be an exciting meeting. It's the first meeting since the announcement, and there's some decisions on consultants that will be made at that meeting as well. I too want to wish everyone a blessed holiday season. For those that are Jewish, there's one more day of Hanukkah left, and I also want to wish those that celebrate, as I do, a very merry and blessed Christmas, along with a happy new year. Thank you very much. And with that, do we have any row officers with any comment? Hearing none, we'll move to public comment. As always, we'll go to public comment in person first. And I want to recognize Sharon Shirk, Tilden Township. Topic is library. If you could come up to the podium, could you turn, is that turned up? Yep. And 3 minutes.
Green light, green, right?
Good.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Sharon Shirk. I live right down the road. I'm a resident of Tilden Township. I'm also a member of the Hamburg Library Board of Trustees. I have 2 other friends with me. Chelsea's our director. Dorothy's a board member as well. And basically, we just wanted to thank you for your continued support of the library. Our library is a great resource for the town. Heard this lady over here say she loves her library. Hopefully that's Hamburg, but we are thrilled and we're very appreciative. So thank you for your support of the library as we work hard at making it a great place for the community. So thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Interestingly enough, because of Stephanie Weaver, we have a Stephanie Weaver, Stephanie Williams, our library director, we're hosting all of the commissioners' town halls next year at member libraries. I don't even know. Are we at Hamburg next year? Do you know? I'm putting you on the spot. I don't remember. Yeah. So Stephanie was at one of our town halls this year at the Bethel Library. And it was after that she said, why don't you partner with the library system and our local libraries so that they can promote it as well? And I would encourage you, when we are in an area, and for those that are listening, these are not slick scripted meetings. We stand up at the beginning of the meeting. Normally they're 6:30 to 8 p.m. and we end promptly at 8. We stand up, we give a report about whatever issue or issues we want to talk about, normally about 10 minutes each, and we open it up to Q&A. We don't bring staff along with us. If we don't know the answer, we'll get back to you with the answer. But again, we do that for the same reason. We'll have 5 people sometimes. I think the most I can remember is maybe 20 people. But it isn't about that. It's about making people know that we care enough to come out into the community and kind of hang ourselves out there and say, what's important to you? What are your questions? And give straight, honest answers to the questions that are asked. So thank you, Stephanie. That was a great idea. And I'm looking forward to see how well it works. We will support the effort through Jonathan Heinzman. Jonathan, if you want to wave, Jonathan is our public relations officer to get information out. We also, I know people hate them, but we do robocalls into a multi-municipal area, simply saying we take turns as a commissioner. We're going to be at the Hamburg Public Library on such and such a date, such and such a time for a town hall. We'll give a report and open up to your questions. Feel free to come on out. They will be, if they're not already. We approved them. We approved those dates already. So we'll have to check. I'm looking back at our IS folks. If you can check and see, along with Carmen, if we got those posted. But that is the intent, for them to be posted for the entire year. So people know that, and then working with our local libraries so we can promote that. But that's a good point. Anything online? Okay. That brings us to the end of our agenda. Anything for the good of the order?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
The meeting stands adjourned.